I want to show you how drawing a simple world or region map can really help you get started on your next tabletop role-playing game adventure. Now, I've had an idea for a new homebrew campaign that I've wanted to run for a while, and I think I've finally found the inspiration to get it moving. The setting is a marshy intercoastal area, a place where a freshwater spring connects to the saltwater ocean. Now, you can see that I'm at the very, very beginning stages of this adventure planning. I'm just making a list of a few vague locations that'll be inside this area. A town, a fort, the freshwater spring, and a few other interesting locations for the players to explore. I don't have names for any of this stuff yet. I don't know who the antagonist of this adventure will be, or any of the characters really, but that's okay, because drawing this map is going to help with all of that. Okay, so I'm going to be using my Flick Silverpen's guide to making maps to help draw this map, and even though I wrote this guide, I still like to have it on hand whenever I'm drawing a map to sort of look at the examples inside, just as a reminder to keep things simple. Now, this zine comes with a folded 11 by 17 hex grid, and on the other side there's a normal 1-inch square grid, so I'm going to be using that to draw my map today. And everything I'm drawing in this whole video is really simple. You don't need to be a professional artist to draw a cool map. You should totally be able to follow along with my drawing and copy the examples I'm giving, but if you need more help or more examples, check out Flick Silverpen's Guide to Making Maps in my online shop. It's linked below. Now, I've started by sketching out the locations I listed on this hex grid, just very, very loosely in pencil. I just kind of picked random spots and plopped each of the locations down. Most of the hexes on this map are going to be the intercoastal marshy areas, and because the icon that represents that is so easy to draw, I'm not bothering sketching any of that out. I'm just sticking to the unique locations and the river and roads and coastline. Now, to ink this map, I'll be using a couple of these micron pens. I like them because they make nice, solid, uniform black lines, and they come in all sorts of sizes, but I'll be using a size 12 and a size 8 for this map. I'll also have links to where you can get these pens down in the description. I'm going to start with the coastline and the roads. I'm using the size 12 for these because I want them to stand out the most. You know, using a thicker line to divide spaces like land and water really helps the readability of the map. But pretty quickly, I switch over to the 08 size, and I'll be using this one basically for the rest of the map. And as I'm inking these locations and all the marsh areas, hopefully you can see that none of the drawing on this map is that complicated. The most complex thing is probably the town, but even that is just a couple of triangles and rectangles to represent a few clusters of buildings and this lighthouse. Okay, so let's talk about how this map is going to help me invent a new homebrew adventure. So my plan right now for this whole campaign is to run a Shadowdark game, and this setting that I'm coming up with is heavily inspired by where I grew up in Florida. There's this freshwater spring that is located between the intercoastal and the ocean. It's this weird little strip of fresh water between two really salty water places. So in Shadowdark, there's this unique real-time torch tracking mechanic that seems really, really fun. You gotta pay close attention to your light source because the game is called Shadowdark. But since this adventure is gonna be taking place outside in this Florida-inspired marsh, I don't think the players are going to be that concerned with torches. So I'm thinking, how fun would it be to change the light tracking mechanic into a water or hydration tracking mechanic instead? So this whole adventure is going to revolve around this area's source of fresh water. Obviously, the status quo of this region has been changed, and the people in the area no longer have access to the spring, so fresh drinkable water is in short supply, and everyone's starting to get desperate. The players will have to solve that problem and save the area, all while keeping track of their own water supply. So maybe they run out of fresh drinking water and have to drink salt water instead, or maybe they find some dirty water in a puddle or something somewhere, or maybe there's a witch who has summoned a rain cloud and is selling the water that she collects for a super high price. So that's the setup for the adventure, what I've had in my head, but it still feels a little overwhelming just jumping into planning session 1. But that's where Sly Flourish comes in. I've been watching Mike Shea prep his own Shadowdark campaign each week on his YouTube channel, and I'm totally blown away by just how casually he handles the whole process. Now, I'll have a link to his channel in the description. Definitely check it out. And Mike has a whole wonderful process for prepping his games that he outlines in his own books. But what's really blown me away is how he's taken the gloaming, which is a simple setting from one of the Shadowdark zines, comes with the hex map, and he just very slowly, week by week, fleshes out each locations as the players travel there. And what's really cool is he just waits and sees what the players are interested in during the game, and then builds that into the story of the next week's adventure. And watching him prep is really cool. It's kind of liberating because all he really does is make note of where the players want to go next, and then he just pulls up a Dyson Logos map and fills it in with some monsters, rolls a couple of interesting NPCs, and makes sure that there's some sort of conflict happening that ties into the region and the characters' backstories. And that's really all that he prepares. From there, it's just about playing the game and seeing what happens next. You know, it doesn't have to be this whole complicated story with backstory and hundreds of different characters and factions. You can have a pretty simple idea like, we've run out of fresh water, better go find out what's going on, and then just run from there. So I'm finishing up this map by drawing all of the marsh hexes. I imagine there's going to be tons of fun random encounters while exploring this dangerous intercoastal waterway. And really, I'm just feeling inspired by Mike and figuring out that I could whip up an entire adventure and get started right away. I really don't have to write the whole campaign out. I can just make a list of a few vague locations that would seem cool to explore, spend 30 minutes drawing up this map, and then use some random tables in the Shadowdark book to roll up some encounters and maybe a couple NPCs, and then just have fun letting the players loose in this world. I'll get to see whatever they latch on to and then take it from there and plan as I go week to week. And I just think it's so cool that this map, you know, it only has 8 unique locations, but it's totally enough, like maybe more than enough to give me a good framework for at least a couple months worth of adventuring. Now, this definitely isn't going to be the final map of this place, whatever I end up calling it, but you should totally subscribe to the channel to see how this adventure unfolds. It's a ways off, but I 100% will be turning this setting into a series of adventure zines for my Patreon sometime next year. And in the meantime, I've got a lot of other fun projects I'll be releasing on Patreon, so go check it out if you'd like to support the channel and see all of the other fun stuff I've made. If you want to get physical copies of any of my zines, they're available in my online shop. I'll be shipping out orders until the 15th of this month and then taking a little bit of a break for the holidays. Let me know what you think of the map, and hopefully this video inspired you to try homebrewing your own adventure and creating a map for it as well. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you in the next one. See ya!